What's happening, everyone? And welcome to the Systems Lab Live. This is the Wednesday edition. Very happy to be with you here this evening. We are in part 2 of Help. My notes are a mess. My notes are a mess. As you guys are coming into this live stream, I want you all just to kind of tell me what is happening with you. I want you to tell me, drop your name and location and what you are specifically working on. I just want to do a little temperature check to make sure people can hear me and see me on the LinkedIn and on YouTube mostly too. I just want to make sure I'm live on the LinkedIn. Okay, very good. I can hear myself. Very good. So drop your name and your location and what exactly you are working on. What was the day like for you, folks? I think my day was exciting. A lot of effective work that was being done today. I'm actually working on a series of presentations where I will be talking about, it's a 3-part series. It's gonna really start breaking down the system behind like time and task management. Very excited about it because I believe some of these fundamentals, right, of understanding how do we become effective at managing our time best, and how do we effectively be able to understand what are our priorities and how do we execute on those. And I know for the past 2.5 years, there's so many like time management workshops. There's so many like, you know, how to do this better, and a lot of times, it can be overwhelming. And I'm always here to simplify what that means and what that is supposed to be. So I'm very excited about that. So I'm breaking some things down, talking about, for time management, how it's not necessarily your typical time management presentation, because we actually go and sort of look at some things internally and intrinsically when it comes to your time. Because I'm a big believer that when we are talking about how we're managing our time, our priorities, it's a direct reflection on what we are honoring in our lives and what we are focusing on. So I will look to do a little breakdown of that probably in the fall sometime after that's over, because I think that's a really important topic to discuss. Now for tonight, we have for the agenda. Y'all like this little overlay action, or how do we do it? There we go. You know what I'm saying? It's show and tell with Ask Ash, process and flow, and the challenge of the week. So if you're here for the very first time and you're wondering, first of all, what is the Systems Lab Live and what is it about? Systems Lab Live is a weekly live show twice a week where we discuss trends in productivity. We do project management training, and we look at how to develop processes. Okay. Now, I don't know if there's any other type of live show that's out there that's going to be actively talking about ways you can manage projects effectively in this type of forum. So send them my way too, because maybe we can do a collab. But I find it to be really important that we are literally coming together and we are sharing with one another about how to figure out this thing called being effective with how we're managing our projects and the work on an everyday basis. I think it's some good stuff. So with that said, we're going to talk a little bit about show and tell with Ask Ash, get into the first segment of the show. And what we want to talk about today is a little bit about no code apps. All right. I want to talk a little bit about that because we didn't get to it tomorrow, yet the other day. Sorry, because we just didn't get to it. But I want to talk a bit about low code and no code technology tools. I'm gonna bring up some notes and chat with you all for a minute about that because I think it's something to really start thinking about as we sort of study what's happening in terms of our needs as businesses and brands, and then how do we leverage systems and processes to help us get to where we're going faster and more effectively. So that's really, a lot of what I'm looking at when it comes to the show and tell with Ask Ash, and what I'm exactly, looking to talk about. So, low code tools. Low code tools and platforms are as straightforward as they sound. The amount of coding knowledge required for people to use them is low compared to traditional software development tools. Okay. Now, you may have heard of various low code tools like Airtable or Notion. There is a movement in these past couple of years of utilizing no code tools inside of businesses and brands. Why? Because we used to, and I don't say it's not that we're not doing it anymore, but mainly like buying software off the shelf and just saying, okay, this is a product for me, and then just utilizing it is not cutting it anymore. Many people are getting very sophisticated in the way which they want to build their particular processes, their programs, their products, what have you. So many times people are looking for, well, how can I be able to get to X, Y, G, H, Z, Q, R, S and do it efficiently, if that makes sense. So it's no longer, I just want to get X tool and then that's just the perfect tool. It's a little bit more of, I'm trying to accomplish X. What's the best route that's going to get me there? So if I go and buy this tool based on what's required, will this particular tool be able to do that? Or can I get this particular tool and then build with it? So, for example, AT, I will always shorten Airtable. I will call it AT, like it's like my friend, like my human friend. AT Airtable, and you're gonna hear from one of my special peeps that is an Airtable aficionado, an expert, is super smart with it, why that software tool has enhanced her life and her business. But again, that's a low code tool. She's been able to utilize that, build that tool to the way that she wants to, so that she can effectively meet the needs of her business. It's fantastic. It'll be sometime in September. Sidebar, I'm excited because I've been asking a couple of people to come on the live show, and we're going to be talking a bit about how they work. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be a really great conversation. So yeah. Okay. Sorry. That just made me smile just because I've been asking a couple people and they've been like, yeah, sure. So we're going to have a couple of chats about that. All right. Back to what we're talking about, low code tools. Low code application platforms generally have modular components and drag and drop features. This helps teams of non-technical experiment make prototypes and build mobile apps and launch initiatives and speed up software creation. So, okay, this right here is a game changer. Some folks are like, we don't necessarily want to have a tool where we got to have an expert, that we got to have someone build it, and it's like some obscure type of tool and that nobody else on the team knows how to use it. Like, we're looking to be innovative, we're looking for flexibility, and what's cool about it is that non-technical people can use it, which means what? You can easily be able to create processes around the actual thing that you're looking to implement, and create a process for that person's position, not the person, but the position. So low code tools, aka they're the bomb.com, it's really cool because you can be able to, or your team member rather, can be able to build something, learn it, teach it, implement it, and then do some cool process improvement to it as you are implementing and seeing if what you want this tool to do based upon your requirements and meeting your business need, if it's working. So we said examples of no code tools. So we've said Notion, we've said Airtable, Zoho Creator, Microsoft Power Apps. Okay? Very good stuff. So why are people using low code or no code tools? Well, we sort of talked about this before. So buying software in some instances is not enough. People have to be able to, they're thinking outside of the box. They're really thinking, if I'm trying to get to X to Z, back to G into A, and then right around the corner is P, can this tool help me do that? If so, I want to see it. So that's why there's a lot of conversation about, is this going to be the right tool or not? ClickUp, I would even consider, is like a low code tool. You can do some things with like API and things like that. Actually, I'm gonna do a little Google while I talk about that. But there is a fascination when you're making a software or technology investment of, is this the right tool for me? Will this fit all of my needs? And for me, I don't really believe that there is one tool that can actually fit all of your needs. And should it be? Hmm? Come on. Come on. It says ClickUp is the world's highest rated project management and no code platform used by highly productive teams. Okay. So there we go. So, that I just wanted to verify that before, I didn't want to make anything up, but in my mind I was like, this fits the definition of low code or no code tools. So there's always a question that I get all the time, which is ClickUp right for me? Or I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z in ClickUp. Can I do it? Trying to make ClickUp the all-in-one tool, because there was a tagline. I don't know if they're still using it, but there is a tagline of the one app to replace them all. Well, child, let me go see if we're still saying that. 'Cause sometimes I don't be, I don't always keep up with all the taglines. But the one app to replace them all. Okay, I think we're still saying that. Okay, well, that's fine. That's fine. But my point is this is for me, and I'm a little bit more of a traditionalist. I say that all the time to clients. I'm more of a traditionalist when it comes to project management tools. Like, I'm all about using the tool for its intended purpose. So using the tool to manage the work, manage the projects, execute the work. Like, that's always going to be my first and foremost concern. Other use cases, they're cool. I'm not saying you can't do it, but I'd rather not disappoint you, because my specific niche anyway with ClickUp is always going to be about the workflows and how you're managing the project. Bloop. That's it. That is it. Many people want to use like CRM tool, a marketing and analytics tool, and it's not that you can't do it. I'm not saying you can't or that you shouldn't do it, but there are interesting use cases out there of, can I, you know, use this app in conjunction to that app to get to this, to get to that result. And I think that you have to think very strategically about what it is that you're looking to accomplish, because sometimes there are other CRM tools that are more powerful, that have more of the, maybe the software capabilities that you need, and it may be better to go with that platform, dependent on, again, your particular scope and requirements. What are you requiring for your technology investment? And then what is your goal? Because sometimes the CRM tool is going to be better than creating something within an actual low code or no code tool like ClickUp or like Airtable. What's going on, Taylor? We're talking about low code and no code tools. If they're, and the fact that it's not a fad, it's actually the future, low code tools. And I was actually talking about how, in particular, that platforms like ClickUp, for me, I'm just a bit of a traditionalist when it comes to project management tools. Use it for its intended use. Sometimes you can't always like make the tool do what you want to do, because sometimes it may not always, especially when you're going to scale your business, it may not always make sense to build for another intended use. So for instance, like a CRM. And what CRM do you use, Taylor? Let us know in the chat. But that's my take. So Piper Drive, if you need something that's like a little more aggressive, that you need to like really have more automations and more power, then you may want to go with another platform. But it all depends. Again, if you want to build it out, yeah, you can build it out. It's your preference. So I'm not going to steer you from building within ClickUp. I'm just going to tell you to think a little bit strategically about your intended goal, what that workflow looks like, and does it in the long run, does it actually make sense to build the tool out to do that? I'm currently using ClickUp. Very good. Very good. And you're using that. Are you also using it as a lightweight CRM tool? Because I use it sometimes for lightweight CRM for a little bit, but mainly Dubsado. Mainly Dubsado is my jam for that. Contracting, invoicing, that type of thing. So in some ways, for some use cases, if you want to track leads because you want to have a checklist inside of ClickUp, it makes sense. Like it makes total sense to do that. All right, so we'll wrap up in a minute low code tools, but okay, so the upside of no code tools are this: keep costs down because you're not using or buying other software. Low code tools offer the ability to move faster. You can work with existing platforms, retains younger workers like Gen Z and millennials because they're going to be able to create with this. So I also wanted to end on this note. Predictions show that low code market is poised to reach $45.5 billion by 2025. $45.5 billion by 2025. That is why you see a lot of these little tools popping up each way, because everybody's trying to get a little slither. You remember, you'll be at Thanksgiving dinner just saying, I can't eat anymore, but let me get a slither of pie. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. That is exactly what's happening. Y'all see this little logo right here? Shout out to Nick. Shout out to Nick on that one. Nick Rich. He did this. It's beautiful. All right. We're going to be talking about something that, for me, I think is just great. We're going to be talking about how you effectively take notes at conferences. Come on, somebody. Come on, somebody. How does one effectively take notes at conferences? I think this is just a great opportunity, right? For us to really get honest about when we go to conferences. Put it in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat. If you go to conferences, you take notes, but then you don't look at your notes. Okay? Who's going to raise that hand? Who's going to raise that hand? And we're going to get real honest. There's nothing wrong with it. This is like a no judgment situation, right? It's a no judgment situation. But it goes back to our note-taking discussion on Monday when we were talking about having information overload and literally being able to understand when we are attending conferences, reading books, listening to podcasts, having all of this information, how much of it are we retaining? How much of it are we using? Note taking is a key part of our personal knowledge management. Taylor says, LOL, I cheat. I record and organize later. Lord have mercy. She says she records it and organizes it later. Well, I kind of actually like that step because at least you can go back and check in to see like, all right, I went to this conference, and you're listening actually to the information like a day, two, maybe a week later, maybe 2 weeks later. And then you're able to say, that's interesting, right? You get a brand new perspective. You get a totally brand new perspective, which I think is cool. Very good. I love that answer. So, one of the things that I started thinking about like last year was, all right, I don't want to miss the information. That's usually my thing. Like if I'm gonna go to a conference, then I actually limit the amount, because back in 2020, man, I was signing up for all the virtual conferences. I was doing all the things, man. I had like 20, 30. I kept a little record book in Notion of platforms that I would actually be a part of, like platforms I signed up for. These are virtual summits, everything. Like I signed up for a lot. And then if you think about it, did I use any of it? Not much. Did I log back in? No, not really. So in 2021, I was like, okay, we're going to be real smart. We're going to be real smart about what we're taking notes on and why we're taking these notes. So we started limiting what conferences I was going to. And then I was like, well, where am I going to take these notes? Because I can't do it in Google Drive or Google Docs because it's just not going to make sense for me to do it. I am team Google. Like I don't want to get that twisted. I love me some Google Drive. I think it's a powerful set of tools, right, that you can really use to manage yourself and your business. I think it's great. But for note taking, it's not, you can't really do much with it. And then Apple Notes could be an option. And they've upgraded the way they've done things, like put tags, you can record. I think you do like voice memos, you can put pictures and stuff. Then you got to like think about like how you'd organize it into folders. Like what if you need to like transfer the information, from one point to another. And so that's where I'm at right now with my information. I'm literally rehauling the whole note-taking thing. I think I'm going to finish building it out Friday or Saturday. But I have a framework where I'm going to just rebuild my whole note-taking system. And the way I'll do it, because I have old notes from other places, I'm still going to keep them where they are at. But I'm just literally going to probably like start new and start afresh, probably September 1st. Yeah, I'll probably do it September 1st, maybe October 1. Probably September 1st. So anyway, note taking at conferences. Let me share with you. Okay, let me go here. Let me share with you a few observations that I have seen. Hey, Mason, what's happening? Ooh, no notes for ClickUp. No. But this is a good question, right? This is a really good question that Taylor asked. Taylor asked, do you use ClickUp for notes? So I believe for ClickUp, creating project plans and meeting notes for the project or for your team inside of ClickUp. Okay. I believe in that because you can easily be able to do a relational base with that, tag people. So I believe in being able to connect it all together. I think that if you start separating out the process and using the apps, that's where it gets a little messy because people then start to go to different things and forget where stuff is. So use the ClickUp Docs feature for creating project plans, create a template for that so that you can just rinse and repeat. And it's the same thing I would say for I would do the same thing if you were using it for like marketing or like, those types of things. If you wanted to use that to put your ideas for your content ideas, you could for sure use it for that. I believe like you could definitely do it like that. I think it makes perfect sense, especially if you're looping in other people. Now, yeah, so that's what I think. Now, when it comes to like challenges in note taking, because there's like a lot of challenges that we have in note taking, I want to talk to you about 5 different things. Number one, I don't know what to take notes on. Sometimes I show up to conferences. I've done this before. What should I take notes on? I was just talking to my mastermind group about this 2 weeks ago, and we talked about the purpose. We talked about the importance of getting clear about why you're attending a webinar, a workshop, why you're taking a course, why you're jumping on somebody's live. Like, you want to get really focused on what you intend to get out of it so that you can then know, all right, let me make sure that I am sharp when it comes to knowing what I'm listening for. Because just like when we were in school, we just write down everything. And when we write down everything and you go back, you sort of wonder, I wonder why I wrote that down. Now, for some, that may be like, okay, I get that. Like that's a good piece of information. But we're going to talk about what questions that you should be asking after you start taking notes. And I will go over that in a minute. I don't know how to organize my notes, right? That's a huge thing. That's a huge challenge in note taking. I don't know how to organize my notes, right? We just talked about tags and tools and things like that. I never reference my notes. I've done that, right? Where I have not referenced my notes. Not at all. Not at all. I write everything down. I just said it. I write everything down. And then lastly, not being specific enough. Not being specific enough. But that goes into understanding what you're supposed to be taking a note on or not. And sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you need to sit and listen. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you need to just sit and listen. And when something pops in your head, boom, you write it down. There was and I'll tell this quick story because I think I said it last time, but I used to have a position where my job was to, and it was like us and like a few folks, we were part of the same like contracting team. Like there's like a few of us. And what we did was we were actually professional note takers. Yeah, it was a government agency. And it was actually kind of fun. We learned how to create and manage meetings. And we're going to talk about that next week. How to effectively manage meetings because people hate meetings. But I will teach and train you on how you can create effective meetings. That's the problem. We've been in too many bad meetings. Let's be honest. We all have. Okay. We be rolling our eyes. We're like, I don't want to be here. I just hate meetings. Sometimes we just need to get clear on what it is that we're meeting. Because I don't believe in calling meetings just to call a meeting. I believe you should have an agenda. I believe that you should have a purpose for it. I believe there should be a way that you disseminate information afterwards. Yeah, it's a whole thing, but we'll talk about that next week. So was that the last point was not being specific enough. Okay. Okay, great. So I'm going to open up Whimsical. Whimsical is a fantastic tool, everyone. if you are ever looking for a particular tool to do some whiteboarding, which is one of my favorite activities, whiteboarding. All right. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. So, what I am going to tell you a little bit about, I've decided that the note taking app of choice moving forward is going to be Notion. So, we've decided upon that. We've decided also upon the areas in which I'm going to be taking notes on. So, we've done that. And now we'll get into the building of the actual template itself this weekend. We'll probably do some live building too in the week after next. So, note-taking structure. So if you decide that Notion is not your tool of choice, that's also fine as well. It's also fine. But if you're using another type of note-taking app, and we could also, kind of look into other note-taking apps as well, so that you can be able to, use it. So I would look at your digital sheet of paper. I know there's some people out there that are part of the pen and paper squad. Mm-hmm. Yep. And listen, folks. I'm not saying that you can't take any notes on pen and paper, but there's going to come a time where you may lose the notebook, and it's easy to transfer that information into a digital app so that you can share it. So what I would be looking to do, even with my note-taking app, well, I'm calling them playbooks, is eventually I'm going to want to share them with people. So I've been on this journey thinking a lot about strategically, what does this look like? What do I want to share? How do I want to share it? Um, Thinking and taking elements from Build a Second Brain by Tiago Forte. I think that's how you say his name. That's been a fun book to read. But I believe in everyone having a personal knowledge management type of system. And like I said, you do not have to use Notion to do that, but I'm a big believer in it. Find your information, store it, access it, share it whenever you want to. I believe in it. Note taking 101 structure. I want you to visualize your digital sheet, or take out a sheet if you want to. In section 1, you're really going to put 4 things: the purpose, the speaker, the date, and the area of focus. Okay? So here's what I want you to do. The purpose. What is the purpose of your conference that you're going to? What's the purpose? So write that down. What's the purpose? Who's the speaker or who's the speakers? The date. The date. I think it's important, knowing when you took it. That's sometimes jars your memory. Sometimes you may go to conferences and there's like freebies and there's like sign up for this, and that's a whole nother story. Like, if you get digital swag, where do you store that? That's another problem for another day. That's another problem for another day. I don't know, because there's a lot of people who have that, like bonuses, and then like you have to do like the logins. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you do create a Notion database for like username and passwords, but then I think you have to be careful about your passwords and not getting hacked. It's a whole different thing. Heather Renee is in the building. What's going on, Heather? Okay, area of focus. I think this is really important. This is like a new thing for me. What area have you identified that it's relevant to your life? It could be like, I have faith and faith in the Bible, and then I have, what else do I have? I have content creation, but then I've also broken that down. Like, I'm going to break down these playbooks for like LinkedIn and Instagram, and then I think Twitter. I'll probably have a Twitter one, and podcasting. So there's like 4 that I'll have. So if I'm going to like the podcast movement, so that's like a good example. So if I was going to this conference that's happening right now called the podcast movement, then I would have a playbook that would be set up for that conference, which would be great. And then I would be able to organize that information. I could filter and do all the other fun stuff. Okay, let me go down a little bit further. Organizing the information. Sometimes this is where it gets, there's a left turn and you don't know where else are you going. So I'm big on the middle part of your page to essentially have the main point and then a sub point. Main point, sub point, main point, sub point. Taking the main idea and then writing down the sub point. Now you could be saying to yourself, Ashley, I don't know if I could really like separate it like this. Like I probably won't be able to do that because I write a whole bunch of stuff. Well, that's all fine too. I think if you want to start to make sure that your information is organized from your notes from the jump, I would suggest having main idea 1, sub point, main point 1, sub point 2. You know what I'm saying? All the main ideas and then all the sub points. Lastly, but not leastly, taking action. This is the part where I was not doing that. What action step are you going to take? Now, I told you about the conversation I had with my mastermind group. Shout out to Tara Katina West, who said something so epic about note taking and conferences. She has 3 main points that she extracts from her notes so that she can implement it. If she has not implemented it, she's not going to, like go return back to that conference, or she's not going to go seek out another conference in that same area if she has not implemented those 3 actions. I think that is brilliant, my friends. Take action. When you receive information, you say to yourself, man, what should I do next? Sometimes we're just mesmerized by all the information that we're taking. Sometimes we just are, right? This information's good. It sounds good to me, right? It sounds good to me. But taking action, what are we going to do next? Taylor says that makes sense. We have so much access to information. It can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming. You're going to have to pick and choose and battle with yourself about where you should go and what you should do. Sometimes you need to be hyper focused on what it is that you are focusing on in the season. Or you may be able to be like myself, where you have periods or like on or off periods where you could be super focused on a subject maybe for a few weeks and then turn your attention to like a different subject that's really that can be really interesting to you, right? So I do my best on a weekly basis to study agile project management. I have it in my ClickUp so I know like what my task is for that day. If I get to it Saturday, that's great. If I don't, I get to it Sunday. But I truly, truly, truly stick to that. It's because it's important to me. And then I also know too, I made a system for how I study. So I use Whimsical. I use Whimsical as a visual note-taking tool to help me organize what I'm learning. But that's like, that's on the study side, right? But action step, right? So I think you want to, when you're sitting in conferences, you want to know like, okay, how am I going to apply this information? So I want to ask you guys some questions, because I think that's really important to understand as well. So don't forget to write down questions that you have from the speakers. I know for me, a lot of times, sometimes questions come on later. I'm trying to do better with my question thinking. Sometimes I can't really think on the fly like that. I'm trying though. I'm trying. a question to ask yourself: what was the most defining lesson of the workshop, of the course, of the program, whatever it is? How does this apply to me? How does this information apply to me? What will I implement? Okay, what will I implement? And then when will I implement? Okay, so it's like 4 questions. What was the most defining lesson of this workshop? How does this apply to me? What will I implement? And when will I implement it? Make sense? And you can use these questions to help guide strategy for courses that you're taking, group coaching programs, one-on-one coaching. And you can get really, really specific on these particular points. And you can really start to train your mind on how you're thinking about the information that you're receiving. And hopefully, the group coaching programs that you're a part of, will already have information that will also just prompt you again to understand how the information applies to you, what will you'll implement, and when will you implement it. So that is definitely some things that I've kept in mind. So when I do my rehaul of my note-taking system, I'm going to make sure that I have these questions in place. And it may be that I don't have all of the answers, right? Because I'm definitely going to start categorizing it into, how urgent is this note? How relevant it is, because there could be some things where I'm actually going to create a template where it's more of like an ideas template, because I will get a lot of ideas. Like I'll get a lot of ideas and I'll be like, okay, this is a great idea. Where should I store it? In my brain? Just kidding. We are not going to do that anymore. But I want to put it down and I'm going to ask some key questions. What's the idea? Like, what are the specifics? What needs to be implemented? Is it now or is it 30, 60, or 90 days? What needs, what are the specific requirements? And I would probably, even if I think about this in terms of how I want to structure the playbook and that note, that idea notes aspect of it, is I'll probably structure it in such a way where it may be an open note that I need to come back to. And I might have even some phases, like it goes from ideation and then it goes into, maybe it's like planning, because you're looking at it and seeing from the perspective of, this is something that I'm working with right now, or maybe it's in progress, in review, I don't know. And then maybe it's implementation, because maybe you're implementing what it is that you're learning. So just some things to think about. I just wanted to make sure that we were really sinking our teeth into this aspect of effective note taking, some of the challenges that we are facing, and then how we could go about just improving how we're doing that. Well, friends, I'll say this. It's been a grand time being with you all. Let's see, we're at 44 minutes. Very, very good. And that's all I have for you all today. I think if you are interested in becoming a part of the Systems Lab crew, a couple things you can do if you're on YouTube right now. You can go ahead and text me and be a part of the crew. And this is where you can get reminders and things like that of when I go live, and then just sort of just hang out. I'm not bombarding you each week with a lot of text messages. I probably do like 1 to 2 per week. Keep it light. Give a quick micro action step. I say if you are a project manager, if you are an implementer, you for sure want to be a part of the text crew if you'd like to be. Awesome. I'm looking forward to it, Taylor. I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely. So thank you all for hanging out with me. next in a couple weeks, or I guess it's next week, right? Next week is September. Next week is when people are going to start thinking about, what they want to do with some of their systems and overhauling things. We do have our ClickUp VIP day. Yeah. ClickUp VIP day. And so you can most certainly go to ashleyschuler.com and you can click on that link and definitely tap in. For sure, you can text me VIP to 626-722-5444 just to tap in and talk to me about the VIP day. Ooh, how do I join? Oh, I love to hear it. I love to hear it. So what you can do is you can actually go and text live to 626-722. Be part of the tech squad. Absolutely. Thank y'all so very much for tuning in. I look forward to being here next week. We are going to be talking about meeting management. We're going to be talking about how to set yourself up for success for meetings, and then you can we're going to have some examples, and we'll probably do a ClickUp demo as well, and how you go about doing meeting notes and things like that. Cool. We'll talk soon. Thank y'all so much. Have a great night.